trying to scare us out of here. Well, we're not going to. I'll die here if I have to.
We are willing to offer our lives and we are willing to die.
I would recommend that you turn around and exit the territory.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome John D. Goldman from the Goldman Environmental Foundation.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize. In the 28 years of this ceremony, it's hard to imagine a time quite like this. In January, we mourned the second killing of a prize winner in less than a year. Isidro Baldenegro, an indigenous leader from Mexico, received the 2005 prize for defending the Sierra Madre's old-growth forests from rampant logging. His unwavering commitment to peaceful resistance flew in the face of the violence that plagues so much of Central America today. And since January, we have been beset with a president who ignores recent efforts to help reverse the menace of climate change, who rebukes the advances made in fossil fuels, and all regulations that actually keep our planet and our society healthy, and who surrounds himself with cabinet members and advisors who ignore science, support industry at all costs, and put profits over people every single day. There is no doubt that the agenda being promoted by this administration and the congressional majority recklessly overturns decades of work directly addressing environmental abuses and destruction. So there's every reason for despair. Yet I believe there is reason to hope. What hasn't changed, and in fact has grown even stronger in the past few months, is the power of grassroots organizing. Witness the marches and protests from Washington, D.C. to the Bay Area and throughout this land and beyond. Hear the voices of the disenfranchised and the disconnected who demand accountability and transparency, and take heart in the movements that are poised not to sit by idly, not wait until tomorrow, but rather face the possible damage to our democracy head on and make change happen now. A few weeks ago, we marked the one-year anniversary of Berta Cáceres' murder. This was a moment that could have been solely focused on tragedy. Instead, thousands used the occasion to speak out on behalf of other activists, calling attention to their work and their sacrifices. It is in this spirit that we give you 6 more reasons to stay hopeful. The individuals who will be introduced this evening have demonstrated that no matter how old you are, no matter how many challenges you face, no matter how much corruption rules in your country, no matter how much power irresponsible corporations wield, no matter what, you can dare to act. Let us take this moment, one that inspires each of us to act, to move forward, to change the national agenda, and to dedicate ourselves to repairing, not destroying, our world. To borrow a phrase, let us together pledge that yes, we can, and yes, we will. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to this evening's Master of Ceremonies. As the evening news anchor for KRON4, she is a household name for many of us in the Bay Area. Her distinguished career in broadcast journalism has won her numerous awards, including a Peabody. Most recently, she was nominated for an Emmy for her special report, Selma to Ferguson. She has been recognized for her outstanding leadership beyond the newsroom as well, having won community service awards for her work with several nonprofit organizations in the Bay Area. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Pam Moore.
Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here tonight with all of you. What a wonderful time to acknowledge these wonderful prize winners at this 28th annual Goldman Environmental Prize ceremony tonight. I have long admired the work of the Goldman Environmental Foundation. As a citizen of the Bay Area, I share in the pride in this Bay Area family, the Goldmans, who have taken on such an important cause that affects all of us. I was so encouraged this weekend to watch all of the Earth Day celebrations, watching the news and seeing people all around the world coming out to celebrate and fight to protect our planet. And as a citizen of the world, I'm honored to be here to share in the recognition of these courageous and dedicated honorees, people who often risk everything to protect Mother Earth. You know, working in the news industry, I see the troubles of our planet every day. It seems that Mother Earth is crying out for our attention, for our help, for our action in so many ways that we don't seem to be listening. But not tonight. Tonight, we are listening. We are honoring 6 amazing individuals from around the world, people who have demonstrated great passion and great commitment in their heroic efforts to protect our planet from pollution and environmental destruction. They live on every inhabited continent, in cities and towns and rural areas. They may speak different languages and eat different foods. They come from different cultures, but they share a common goal: to protect and to defend their diverse environments by stepping up, speaking out, organizing their communities to take action against injustice. We thank everyone here for taking the time tonight to celebrate grassroots environmental activism. Many of you have also followed your own passions, committed your own lives to these and other environmental efforts. We thank you for your tireless work to protect our planet as well, which we know often comes at great personal risk. It's sad to say, but it does. The winners who you will meet tonight work as organizers and farmers and park rangers. We hope their stories, their heroism, their passion will inspire you to join their efforts, to redouble your own efforts, or to begin to protect this beautiful blue marble we call home. You may remember Berta Caceres, the 2015 Goldman Prize recipient from South and Central America, who was tragically assassinated last year. Once she said, quote, "We must undertake the struggle in all parts of the world, wherever we may be, because we have no other spare or replacement planet. We only have this one, and we have to take action." Certainly, every recipient who you will meet on this stage tonight agrees, as we know you in the audience agree as well. This year, we do remember another dedicated activist and Goldman Prize recipient who lost his life working to protect the environment. John mentioned him, Isidro Bodenegro Lopez. He was awarded the 2005 Goldman Environmental Prize for North America. He was a farmer and a community leader of Mexico's indigenous Tarahumara people in the Sierra Madre Mountains, an environmental activist who fought against unregulated logging in his region. Mr. Bodenegro was assassinated in January of this year in Mexico. Soon after Isidro's killing, the New York Times wrote, quote, "The death of Mr. Bodenegro, coming so soon after Ms. Caceres' murder, highlights the danger faced by environmental defenders in Latin America, where mining, energy, agribusiness, and logging interests have generated violent conflict with local communities. Our world suffered a profound loss in Isidro's death, but his spirit lives on in the majestic trees that remain standing in the Sierras and the Tarahumara who live among them. His legacy continues in all of us who share his commitment to peaceful grassroots movements," end quote. We know this, without action, none of the achievements highlighted tonight would have been possible. We are providing you the opportunity during this ceremony to take action in support of tonight's prize winners. Now, we all know San Francisco and the Bay Area, our voices have power. We know that. Our voices have power, and they will resonate. And reach out. We want you to support the many vital campaigns from Slovenia to Los Angeles, and maybe Las Vegas too, as well as to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And now please allow me to recognize the members of the Goldman family who lead the foundation and shape the vision of the Goldman Environmental Prize. Susie Gelman, John Goldman, and Doug Goldman, would you please stand so that we can recognize you for carrying on. Thank you so much for carrying on the legacy and the leadership of your wonderful parents, Richard and Rhoda Goldman. Their vision and commitment launched the prize back in 1989, and your dedication keeps this vital cause alive. Susie, John, and Doug, thank you so much. Thank you. In addition to a CAST award, tonight's prize winners receive a statue of the Ouroboros. That's a serpent biting its own tail, representing nature's power of renewal. This stunning and iconic artwork symbolizes the Goldman Environmental Prize. Presenting the Ouroboros will be Doug Goldman of the Goldman Environmental Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize winners.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Robert Redford. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the winners of the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize. The town of Segorje, nestled in the foothills of the Alps in Slovenia, has a long history of farming and ranching. The people of the region have also found work in the coal mines and factories that have marred the valley's landscape for over 200 years. 13 years ago, the cement factory began incinerating unregulated waste to power the Lafarge cement plant.
We knew the emissions from the plant took a devastating toll on the forest and the fruit trees. Then we realized that these emissions from the factory were hurting the health of the community. Medical studies revealed that our region had a higher rate of cancer than other parts of the country.
Uroš Masaro is a third-generation organic farmer whose family land lies just over the hill from the cement plant owned by the multinational corporation Lafarge. Cement production is the highest carbon emission producer in the world. The Lafarge plant burned waste oil, old tires, plastics, and other highly toxic materials. Uroš saw that his sheep were suffering from high incidence of stillbirths and miscarriages. Most important to Uroš were concerns about his family and the community as he began his battle to try to put an end to the pollution that was devastating their region. Uroš became president of Echo Krog, an environmental organization that included farmers and teachers, as well as doctors and lawyers and other professionals who helped further his cause.
The legal part of the fight was probably the most important aspect of the process. We already had EcoKrog members with a high degree of legal knowledge, but we also needed to bring in help from outside the organization.
As the legal process was winding its way through the courts and through Parliament, EcoKrog petitioned the Prime Minister to arrange a meeting to present their case. When their requests were repeatedly ignored or denied, EcoKrog protested on the day that the Prime Minister was set to drive through their region. The protest resulted in a confrontation on the road.
Povozite nas, pa pohodite nas. Mi smo vam tukaj usedli, vi pa naredite to, kar počnete že zadnja leta. In ko je on, predsednik vlade, pristal na to,
the Prime Minister agreed to a 2-hour meeting with us if we unblock the road. That meeting never happened, and that's when we decided to plan a massive protest.
Finally, the Prime Minister invited Uroš and EcoKrog to meet on the same day as the protest.
When I stepped up and started speaking in front of such a huge mass of people, that is something I will never forget. Knowing that they were all supporting us, at that moment, all my energy came back, and I managed to hold on to that spirit for a very long time.
Uroš would need every bit of that energy as EcoKrog pursued all available legal and political avenues with the Slovenian government and the European Union. Finally, a combination of rulings in EcoKrog's favor forced the Slovenian government to order that Lafarge cease operation of the plant.
When we found out that the plant would finally close, I actually jumped up and down for joy. It felt like we were being rewarded for all those years of effort. I couldn't run away from these problems because this place is in my genes. It has been in my family for generations. It was always my wish that my children would one day live on this farm. This farm gives meaning to our lives.
For outstanding environmental achievement for Europe, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Uroš Masarov, Sigorje, Slovenia.
Thank you. Dober večer. Najprej hvala fundaciji te družini Goldman za nagrado in za to, da je prepoznala pomen našega boja. Če bi vam želel povedati vse, kar smo doživeli v 10 letih, bi rabil 3 dni. Brez skrbi, nimam toliko časa, zato bi z vami delil samo nekaj stvari, ki sem jih ob tem spoznal. Prvič. Sežiganje odpadkov je norost, ki uničuje naravne vire. Sežiganje odpadkov v cementarnah pa je kriminal, ki zastruplja ljudi in okolje in je podprt z lobirano zakonodajo. Zero waste je alternativa, ki že deluje v številnih skupnostih v svetu. Drugič. Posameznik v boju proti mednarodnim korporacijam nima možnosti. Edino, kar lahko pripelje do zmage, je združevanje znanja in energije ljudi, ki jim ni vseeno, kako bomo živeli jutri. Tretjič, tudi če si samo preprost ovčji pastir, lahko zmagaš. Če si oborožen s pravico in resnico, te ni strah ne ministrov, ne predsednikov vlad, ne kogarkoli. Zmaga je le vprašanje časa, torej vztrajnosti. Četrtič, tvoja energija in moč sta neomajni, ko si mentalno in fizično prisoten in ne dovoliš, da te negativna čustva prevzamejo in oddaljijo od zadanega cilja. Petič, življenje na kolenih ni vredno živeti, zato v vsakem primeru ostane samo boj, ki te dobro uči življenja, v njem pa spoznaš najboljše prijatelje. Šestič, zamenjali so se številni direktorji in politiki, a vedno so prihajali novi, ki so pripravljeni dušo prodati hudiču, in tu nastopi trenutek odločitve. Ali bomo to gledali, ali bomo ukrepali. Otroci se sami ne morejo braniti. Braniti njihovo prihodnost je naša dolžnost. Danes sem izvedel, da je odstopil generalni direktor Lafarge-Holcim. Zaradi... Yes. Zaradi nesprejemljivih praks delovanja v Siriji. Ne glede na to, kdo bo novi direktor, mu sporočamo, da v Zasavju nikoli ne bomo dovolili, da življenja naših otrok postanejo blago. Zaselek, v katerem živim, se imenuje Zelena trava. In da prebivalci zasavske regije, da danes res živim na zeleni travi, in da prebivalci zasavske regije ne dihamo strupov iz sežiganja odpadkov, se iz vsega srca zahvaljujem najožjim prijateljem v Ekokrogu za ogromno vloženega dela in truda. Za vso podporo hvala tudi sokrajanom Ravenske vasi, županu Zagorja ob Savi in okoljskim organizacijam. Predvsem pa hvala družini, ki že leta preživlja ta boj z medoj. And thanks God.
For generations, the Quechua people of Guatemala have lived in harmony with the land, sustainably farming in the mountains above Lake Izabal.
Y nosotros sin la tierra no podemos vivir.
We have always called the land Mother Earth. Without the land, we wouldn't be able to live.
But in the 1960s, nickel deposits were discovered on Quechua land near Lake Izabal.
El Estado de Guatemala otorga licencias.
The state of Guatemala granted transnational companies fast licenses. No one filed a complaint because they were afraid they'd be killed.
Toda la humazón que se ve va a caer sobre los pueblos.
You can see that there's pollution moving toward the communities. As a result, the water is poisoned and many of the fields are not as productive.
Fearing for his people's future, Rodrigo Tot stepped up to try and secure their property rights. He began helping the people of Agua Caliente document their historic ties to the land and registering their ownership with the Land Registry Office.
Empezamos a pagar, nos dieron una tabla de pago.
When we asked for our land titles, we learned that the pages proving our ownership had been torn from the registry. The government knew that if we couldn't prove ownership, then we couldn't prove the land was legally ours.
A new mining company arrived with plans for expanding the nickel mine into the mountain communities above the lake. Security forces began evicting families.
They've tried to destroy us so that there would no longer be any indigenous people left in Guatemala.
Determined to fight back, Rodrigo began collaborating with local and international NGOs. Together, they started building a case against the Guatemalan government to secure Quechua land rights.
My people told me, have no fear. You fight for us, and we will support you.
In 2009, they filed their case with Guatemala's Constitutional Court. After a 2-year battle, the court ordered the Guatemalan government to issue land titles and restore the pages torn from the land registry. The mining company had no legal right to expand onto Quechua land. It was an historic victory.
Una alegría muy grande.
I was overwhelmingly happy because the highest court in the land ruled in favor of a small, humble community.
Despite the court's decision, the Guatemalan government and the mining company have brazenly ignored the ruling. Undeterred, Rodrigo is taking his case for land rights to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights to prove that the state promotes mining by willfully violating indigenous land ownership.
This is precedent-setting. There has never been a case in the Inter-American Court acknowledging the right to indigenous land ownership and the right to protect the environment.
Rodrigo has paid a high price for his activism. In October 2012, his oldest son was murdered during a staged robbery. His younger son was injured in the attack and left for dead.
The strategy was to kill my son, to scare me off. I lost my son for this struggle. I'm sad because my family is no longer complete. But I will continue this fight. We must be united, because if we're not, we cannot win. It's only unity that gives us strength, where we can all feel supported to fight for the common good.
For outstanding environmental achievement for Central and South America, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Rodrigo Tot, Agua Caliente, Guatemala.
Estimados, señoras y señores, muy buenas noches. Para mí es un honor poder compartir mi experiencia personal ante un público tan grande como lo son ustedes. El ser maya quechí es el que me ha impulsado a luchar por recuperar y mantener nuestra cultura como pueblo indígena de Guatemala. Como resultado de nuestra lucha, hemos vencido muchos obstáculos en contra. El 8 de febrero del 2011, la Corte de Constitucionalidad dictó una sentencia a favor de mi comunidad, aclarando que somos los propietarios de nuestra tierra y que el Estado debe titular nuestra tierra, dictando en contra de los intereses mineros. Como líder comunitario, continúo esta lucha legal y he logrado también asegurar fondos para proyectos de desarrollo comunitario en Agua Caliente. Gracias a esto, hemos logrado mejorar la carretera para la comunidad con el apoyo de personas de buen corazón. De esa manera, nos sentimos motivados para defender la tierra, el agua, las montañas, plantas medicinales, como también los animales y el medio ambiente. En la comunidad no permitimos el ingreso de ninguna empresa porque no queremos contaminación de nuestro medio ambiente. Estimados, con su apoyo nos mantendremos firmes en la lucha para que los estados hagan respetar nuestros derechos como pueblo indígena, en especial el derecho a nuestra tierra. Finalmente, agradezco a la Fundación Goldman por estimular el trabajo que hacemos como líderes indígenas y al Centro de Recursos Jurídicos por los pueblos indígenas, por el apoyo legal brindado en esta lucha, y que la paz de Dios quede con cada uno de ustedes. Muchas gracias.
Virunga is the mother of all national parks in Congo and was the first park in Africa. The park was created in 1925 to protect the mountain gorillas.
There are only 880 mountain gorillas in the world. That entire population is found in Congo and 2 neighboring countries. The gorillas and all of the precious resources in Virunga National Park have been threatened by heavily armed militia forces who were in collusion with corrupt corporate and government officials.
Virunga is a park that is located in one of the most violent regions on Earth. War, everybody has suffered. That really puts Virunga's rangers on the front line because it's their responsibility to protect those natural resources. Over 160 of our rangers have been killed and are continuing to get killed.
Rodrigue Katembo was given one of the more treacherous assignments in the volatile park when he was named head ranger of the remote central sector.
The job of the ranger is simple: to protect all the plants and animals in the park. When we come across someone from outside the park doing something illegal like a poacher or rebel, we have an obligation to arrest them.
In addition to guarding wildlife against poaching and protecting the native people against rebel invasions, Rodrigue had to also watch over resources like lumber and minerals that were vulnerable to being exploited. Soon, he was squaring off against SOCO International, government officials, and unscrupulous park administrators who were plotting to illegally explore for oil within the park's boundaries.
The biggest problem we ever had was when SOCO came with all the documents that said they had authorization to drill for oil in the park. We were shocked. It was very painful because it would surely be a catastrophe for the guerrillas, and they would most likely disappear.
The person who took the greatest risk in finding a solution to the problem was Rodrigue.
Over a 4-year period, Rodrigue went undercover, using a hidden camera, and pretended to accept bribes from SOCO. He submitted video evidence of the company's illicit dealings to the Congolese government, but put himself in grave danger.
Repeatedly, his life was threatened. They held him in a cell, and during that time, he was very badly tortured. So he really paid the price for the effort to safeguard the park.
They took me at gunpoint. They tied me up and started to beat me very hard. They told me that I had brought shame to my country and that I would have to be killed today. I told them that many of my colleagues had already died. If I die today, it's not a problem. I am prepared to die.
Rodrigue was released from captivity and had to relocate to Upemba National Park for his safety. In 2014, his evidence became a central element in the documentary Virunga. The media exposure and public outcry against SOCO's illicit plot intensified. In November 2015, thanks in large part to Rodrigue's bravery, SOCO finally withdrew its claim to oil exploration in the park.
The sacrifice was great. I was held captive and tortured. There was serious danger for me and my family. When we finally learned that SOCO moved out of the park, it was a victory not just for me and my family, but for the Congolese people and for the whole world.
For outstanding environmental achievement for Africa, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Rodrigue Katembo, Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo.
Mesdames et messieurs, c'est un grand plaisir pour moi de me retrouver devant vous. D'abord, pour savourer ce moment précieux de ma vie, consacré à la remise officielle de mon prix Goldman pour l'Afrique 2017. Plus de 2 tiers de la République démocratique du Congo est couvert de forêts tropicales humides. À travers cette forêt, nous avons 8 parcs nationaux, dont 5 sont sur du patrimoine mondial. Ces aires protégées jouent un rôle important dans le contrôle du changement climatique et sont cruciales pour les communautés locales dont leur survie dépend d'un environnement sain. Cependant, les ressources de cette forêt sont dramatiquement convoitées et cela se manifeste sur le terrain par une multitude de pressions, dont les plus fréquentes sont le braconnage, la pêche illicite et la déforestation, couplées à des incitations ainsi que des décisions de certains décideurs corrompus qui, pour leurs intérêts égoïstes, autorisent les actes contraires à la loi du pays et des conventions internationales relatives à la conservation dans ces écosystèmes. Pour rendre viable la gestion des aires protégées et du parc national de Virunga et permettre leur durabilité à long terme, au fait de servir avec satisfaction les générations actuelles et futures, il est important de prendre en compte les recommandations suivantes. 1. Nos gardes ont besoin de moyens matériels et financiers substantiels pour lutter contre les crimes environnementaux dans nos aires protégées. Son impunité devrait être adressée au niveau de la Cour pénale internationale. Deux, dans les Virunga, SOCO devrait rassurer par écrit le parc, la communauté locale et internationale qu'elle n'entreprendra plus sa démarche pétrolière au sein du parc national de Virunga et ses alentours. Trois, les donataires des secteurs verts pour le développement durable et la protection de la biodiversité devront aider davantage le parc national de Virunga afin qu'il lutte positivement pour faire sortir ce parc de la liste des sites du patrimoine mondial en péril, pour le bien de tous et des générations à venir. Merci de votre fidèle attention et dans l'avenir le plus proche, je souhaite ardemment que vous visitiez le parc national du Congo.
Well, I'm sitting backstage with tears in my eyes for the courage of the people we have just seen on this screen. Thank you and congratulations to Urosh Masarol, Rodrigo Toth, and Rodrigue Katembo, the first three winners of the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize. Hearing the stories of the Goldman Environmental Prize recipients inspires and motivates us all. Their extraordinary actions and passion remind us that we must instill those same feelings and push that same energy in the next generation. So once again, we proudly host more than 500 young Bay Area environmental leaders and students and activists who can carry that torch. Please turn your attention to the balcony and let's give them a warm and hearty round of applause. All the young people. Thanks to all the young folks who will carry the torch ahead. Tonight's event will undoubtedly kickstart many conversations, and please join in those conversations on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook, where we will post updates from this year's Goldman Prize recipients and how you can support their work by using the hashtag Goldman Prize. You can add your voice and amplify the work of our recipients to protect our planet. And we want to say thank you to our remote audience tonight, tuning in via live stream on YouTube and on Facebook. We appreciate knowing that so many of you are joining us tonight from near and far to celebrate the actions and the achievements of our prize winners. For those of you joining us remotely, please enjoy this brief intermission. The live ceremony will continue in 8 minutes.
Reading about some of the Nobel Prize awards, I became concerned about the environment and why it wasn't being recognized in a similar fashion. And that's how it all got started.
The Goldman Prize, it started off relatively small, but it always was a big idea.
We want these people to be rewarded in a way that the recognition comes and will inspire many others to do exactly the same thing.
Ordinary people doing extraordinary things to save our Earth.
The real heroes are the people on the front lines.
They're people who stood up against injustice in their own backyards.
They're all activists, or they wouldn't have gotten where they are.
I'm not a scientist. I am the mother of a daughter. I hope that when she looks back, she realizes that I've done this for her.
One overall goal is that people will become so aware of their environment that they will do everything in their power to protect it.
Never say it can't be done. Dream and dream big. It's possible.
We are willing to offer our lives and we are willing to die.
The Goldman Prize winners, they tell their stories.
The honorees talk about how they overcame difficulties and stood up for what they know is right.
People are just in awe at the courage that is shown to really protect their homeland.
I do not want any blood spilled.
And that's why they move people so much.
We started in our own home, and then we motivate others to do the same.
This is our state, Governor, and with the help of the American people, we're taking it back.
Water is more important than coal.
It's the question of life and death, nothing less than that.
There is no way that the kind of change that we want to see around the world would happen without these individuals who've stepped up and said, I'm going to make it my personal cause.
If you see a problem and you see that no one else is doing anything, you're elected.
When I know that event is coming, I know that day I will be inspired, and it happens every year.
Before the Nobel Peace Prize knew I existed, the Goldman Prize realized I existed.
You see these award winners who are proud environmental leaders, and I think that really resonates with our young people.
Maybe one day I can be a recipient of the Goldman Awards.
The planet's spectacular ice caps have grown and receded for hundreds of thousands of years. This natural ebb and flow is well documented. But since the Industrial Revolution, climate change has accelerated dramatically. The culprit? Scientific consensus points to man-made activity. Can we reverse it? Is it already too late? Who's rising to this challenge? Around the world, brave and dedicated individuals are doing work that may help lead to answers. Tonight we celebrate 6 people who are applying their ingenuity, boundless energy, and unflinching courage fighting climate change and protecting the natural environment. I'm Robert Redford. It's my honor to welcome you to the 24th Goldman Environmental Prize. When human beings first began to inhabit the Earth, the planet was a seemingly endless spectacle of majesty and wonder. That natural splendor has been constantly diminished over time. First by our quest for survival, and then by our ever-expanding concept of prosperity. There have always been those of us who have strived to keep our environment in a state of balance, to protect our natural resources from being endangered and perhaps lost forever. Tonight, we celebrate 6 individuals who have made a commitment to applying their visionary ingenuity, their boundless energy, and their unflinching courage to protecting and restoring our natural habitat. I'm Robert Redford. It's my honor to welcome you to the 23rd Goldman Environmental Prize.
And now, please meet the 3 final winners of the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize.
The Hunter Valley, north of Sydney, is home to wine country, horse breeding, fertile farmland, and cattle ranches. Surrounding this idyllic countryside are more than 40 open-pit coal mines. Wendy Bowman has lived here for most of her 83 years and has realized over time that the coal operations were taking a heavy toll on the community.
It was about 88, 89 when the mine came next door to us. We started to notice our crops were looking sick and some of them were dying and we didn't know why. And I got the Department of Water to come and test. That water was full of heavy metals, and so that was when things started to really go wrong. The cattle wouldn't even eat the feed.
Over the years, Wendy relocated within the Hunter Valley because of the encroaching mining operations. But when Yancoal Mining Corporation came knocking on her door in 2010, Wendy Bowman decided that she had no intention of moving for a second time. Her primary concern was her neighbors and their farms downstream. Mining operations were depleting and polluting the water supply through the valley.
Yancoal have got a very bad reputation for things going wrong at all their different mines. And I just think it's appalling that the government has allowed the mines to come here and rape our land. The dust and the noise all day, all night, it never stops. What worried me more was that if I sold, it would wreck the lives of all those people. Everybody downstream was going to rely on this water. If anything happens to this water, there's no other water you can link into.
Private property is important. Yeah. You just can't bulldoze these people out of existence. Yeah.
I'd been through hell with all these mining companies. I just didn't want other people to go through what we'd had to go through.
Wendy began organizing her community as well as the nearby towns that were in conflict with the many mining operations in the valley. Then the dialogue turned to concerns over medical issues.
We suddenly heard there were so many people with cancer in this area. We found that the numbers of people with asthma was just frightening. And so that was when we started a Single and Shire Healthy Environment group. We needed a lot of legal help, and so they got onto the Environmental Defenders Office. They were so wonderful because they gave us courage to have a go. And we knew then what our rights were. Then they were the ones that took on the court case.
Wendy understood that within her hands was the ability to highlight the real injustice about the way mining companies can just come in, take people's homes, take the water and disturb the farms. We were able to put forward independent experts on water, air, as well as Aboriginal cultural heritage, and hear from other landowners that were experiencing the impacts.
The decision from the Land and Environmental Court was unanimous that the mine could proceed only if they could purchase Wendy's property. Wendy, of course, refused to sell. Then Yancoal Mining proceeded to the Court of Appeal in Sydney.
It was worrisome. We had achieved environmental justice for Wendy, and here we were again. We got a unanimous decision of the Court of Appeal, and Wendy could go home and breathe deep. It was a terrific feeling. It felt like there was justice.
I don't think I've done anything extra special, except that I've done it longer than most of them, I think.
For outstanding environmental achievement for islands and island nations, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Wendy Bowman, Hunter Valley, Australia.
Good evening, everyone. I am honoured and humbled to be here. I thank the Goldman Environmental Foundation for the honour they have bestowed upon me. When one realises that there is a call for the environment and one starts a movement, one never considers accolades, as there are so many others working just as hard. I would like to thank the members of our community groups, the Hunter Environment Lobby, the Hunter Communities Network, and Lock the Gate, just to name a few. I'd also like to give special thanks to the lawyers of the New South Wales Environmental Defenders Office, who have successfully defended the environment in court on so many occasions. Water is life. Without it, there is no life. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth. Many hundreds of farmers totally rely on underground water from wells and bores for their animals and irrigation. However, over the last few decades, coal mining has destroyed many of the underground aquifers in the Hunter Valley. As a result, during dry seasons, which we appear to be dealing with more often, farmers have to rely on stored dam water. Unfortunately, in dry seasons, the dams also do not fill. It can potentially be a dire situation for livestock and for crops. When I first met with some like-minded people and started Mine Watch in 1991, our aim was simply to find out what our rights were as landowners and then try to decipher the mine speak in the very large environmental impact statements. We had to read them to prepare our submissions to the Planning Authority when we opposed the mine proposition. Some of the EISs were the thickness of 3 encyclopedias. It was a monumental effort to make sense of them. Mine Watch grew in political and social importance and came to have a substantial media presence and a significant impact on government policy development. However, the work continues, and our underground water supply is now particularly threatened by the mining company's desire for profits and the government's desire for royalties. Money still speaks louder than the need to protect our environment. This must change. This award today marks a recognition of the importance of the attempts to preserve our environment. Many other people have also worked to protect and reclaim our beautiful land and water. I am accepting this award on their behalf as well. Nothing is achieved alone, and we must all work together in our efforts to leave a viable land for future generations. Thank you again for this very special award.
Congratulations.
The Niamgiri Hills in India's eastern Odisha state are home to the Dongriya Kone tribe. For generations, these indigenous people have lived sustainably from the natural abundance of the forest.
The Niamgiri Hills are very important ecologically. This sacred mountain is the source of two major rivers, and there are many species of plants and animals.
In 2003, indigenous rights activist Prafulla Samantara was surprised to read about a public hearing for a proposed bauxite mine in the Niamgiri Hills. The mountaintop mine was a joint project between the state government and British mine company Vedanta Resources.
The Dongriya Kone people didn't know about the public hearing because it took place far away in a language they don't speak.
India's constitution grants indigenous people the right to control development on their land. Knowing that the tribal people had these legal rights, Prafulla immediately set out to alert them about the threat to their homeland.
There are 112 Dongriya Kone villages. 112. To reach one village, it takes half a day to walk up the mountain. It took nearly a year to reach all the people and unite them in the struggle to protect Niamgiri.
In anticipation of the mine, Vedanta illegally annexed 700 acres below the hills, bulldozing 5 villages to construct a bauxite refinery. Bauxite is a key mineral used in aluminum production.
Pollution from bauxite mining lasts for 1,000 years. The mining site is also the source of Niamgiri's rivers. So how will the people survive? They will be wiped out. We are talking about ethnic extinction.
If they take away these rocks, we'll lose our soul. Niamgiri is our soul.
Prafulla, who has degrees in law and economics, partnered with public interest lawyers and filed a petition with the Supreme Court, challenging the mine on environmental, human, and tribal rights violations. Prafulla then helped the tribes organize a united resistance against Vedanta.
Anashan, hunger strike. There were rallies, hunger strikes, and protests. People came from all over the country and formed a human chain that went around the mountain. Police? The police repeatedly tried to repress us on behalf of Vedanta. We were attacked and beaten, but we were committed to a completely non-violent protest.
Prafulla is a non-compromising activist. So needs first, not the greed, is the principle that the Mahatma Gandhi brought into the Indian politics as well as economy. Is something that he sticks to.
Almost a decade after Prafulla's initial filing, the Supreme Court issued an historic decision, reaffirming the rights of indigenous people. The Dongriya Kone voted unanimously to reject the mining project.
These problems may come like Niamgiri.
This is very important decision. If it is applied throughout the country, it will benefit actually the poor people, the tribals who have been living in the forest areas for centuries.
By protecting the tribal people, we protect nature. This is our greatest responsibility, so we can stop the destruction of climate change.
For outstanding environmental achievement for Asia, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Prafulla Samantara, Odisha, India.
Namaskar. Esteemed and dear friends, let me first express my deep gratitude to the Goldman Environmental Foundation and its revered family members for this rare recognition of our struggles, the struggles by the people who have been harmed, hurt, or constrained by the ecological distress happening around us in the name of development. We work with a very positive objective to protect natural resources like the bauxite-rich hills of Niyamgiri from being taken over by corporations like Vedanta and oppressive states. Our sole purpose is to sustain ecological resources and Mother Earth by liberating development from the clutches of extractive and polluting industries and protect the livelihoods of tribal communities, farmers, forest dwellers, and traditional fisherfolk. The resources in our land, forests, the rivers, and streams can be developed without disturbing the ecological balance and biodiversity while ensuring sustainability. But the development framework of our state followed only serve our environment for its potential to extract corporate profits at a huge cost to the local populations who depend on nature. Our struggle is simple to say, loud and clear, no such an undemocratic and just model of capitalism which is the cause of global warming and climate change. We are for an ecological development model that will not only ensure zero displacement, but will also enrich human beings and nature. We are for a development model that addresses climate change and ensures the continuity of a human civilization. Our legendary leader Mahatma Gandhi used to warn us, the earth provides enough to meet everybody's need, but not enough for one body's greed. The rich nations and rich people everywhere in the world have a moral responsibility of reducing high consumption. The Dongariyas of Niyamgiri have a lot to teach us here. This award gives me hope that their voice will not go unheard. My appeal to tonight's honored guests is to join our campaign to protect and conserve nature and people's rights to freely and peacefully access to nature. In doing so, we, along with our next generations, can continue to get free air, free water, and food from our sacred land. Thank you again in this sacred World Earth Day. Namaskar.
The glitz and glamour of Hollywood isn't that far from the working class communities of East Los Angeles. These neighborhoods are home to generations of Latino families.
Despite what a lot of people's perceptions are of East LA, this is definitely a hard-working, family-driven community.
Mark Lopez learned about the importance of community involvement at the feet of his activist grandparents.
My family's been here since the 50s. My daughters are fourth generation. This is the community we've built, the community we're responsible for, the community we fight for.
The people of East LA have been living in the shadow of Exide's battery recycling plant for more than 3 decades.
And the aim of the facility was to get the lead out that was inside those old batteries to make new batteries. So it sounds like a great type of recycling operation, right? But the fumes from the lead in the batteries would go up the stack and out into the community.
And in that process, release lead dust into the air to the tune of 7 million pounds.
This widespread blanket of pollution resulted in extremely elevated lead levels in the children living here, contributing to health issues as deadly as cancer.
We actually had to go door to door knocking to inform residents of what was happening and get them to sign up to get their homes tested because the state wasn't taking that on.
In addition to this community outreach, Lopez organized protests and testified at government panels demanding soil testing.
And people have told me, oh, you know Mark's mad when he smiles really big. It makes me really angry.
Lopez further mobilized people with events like his toxic bike tours.
You can't see Exide from here, but there's Exide lead in this soil.
His efforts paid off when soil testing revealed the contamination was worse than anyone expected. This brought greater attention to the environmental health disaster and led the government to force Exide to cease operation. It was one remarkable victory. But there was an even bigger challenge ahead, as Lopez then switched his focus to securing funding for contaminated soil cleanup.
We worked with Mark and with the community group that he represents, the East Side Yards, and we took a busload of about 50 community residents to Sacramento. Less than a month after that trip, that's when the governor announced that he was going to put forward $176 million. But we know that the cost of cleanup is above $350 million. This is our Flint, Michigan.
There's never been a cleanup of this magnitude. In the area the state is currently looking at, we're talking about 10,000 residential properties.
Lopez continues his work passionately involved in protecting and fighting for his community and his growing young family.
Thinking about my daughters, Chole and Luna, I want them to understand that they have a responsibility to ensure that our communities are safe, that our communities are healthy.
For outstanding environmental achievement for North America, the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize is awarded to Mark Lopez, Los Angeles, California.
Thank y'all. First off, I would like to recognize the Muwekma Ohlone people, who are the indigenous peoples of the San Francisco Bay Area. And the Tongva Gabrielino, who are the indigenous people of the Los Angeles area. I would like to recognize my grandmother, Juana Beatriz Gutierrez, my mother, Elsa Lopez, and all the Madres del Este Los Angeles, Santa Isabel, who taught me to love my community long before I became a father. I would also like to recognize my partner, Dr. Floribok Lopez, and our daughters, Chole and Luna, who are here with us tonight, for filling me with the love that sustains my contributions to our communities. I love you. My earliest memories are in the movement. Building community is our culture. From ancestral homelands to East LA, we participate in community by contributing to our communities. Our ethics of collectivism, cooperation, and humble dignity are how we build movement, how we defend our communities, how we create vision and turn our wildest dreams of justice and love into realities in our homes, on our blocks, and in our barrios. I am grateful to be able to build community with the East Yard Communities for Environmental Justice movement, a political home where these ethics are a daily practice. Nothing is possible with an individual. Everything is possible with community. In community, we'll continue to defend East LA and Southeast LA from the exile-led still in countless homes and the agencies that fail us. We will continue building the struggle against the Tesoro oil refinery impacting West Long Beach and threatening to become the West Coast's largest oil refinery by processing tar sands. We will continue building the struggle against incinerators in Long Beach, Commerce, and Stanislaus, California, who are in Sacramento this very moment, resting their heads after a long day of lobbying, pretending that burning trash in our communities is the same as solar and wind power. And finally, to all my people out there in La Lucha, especially the young folks up top, whether you feel alone as Movimiento builds inside of you, whether you recognize it yet or not, or if you're already building with your squad, the struggle you start today is a struggle our babies don't have to start tomorrow. I know this because I've lived this. A long time ago, my grandma said, the politicians thought we wouldn't fight, but we united and said, ya basta, enough, this is a dumping ground no more. The kids around here were babies when we started. Now they will fight for what they believe in because we showed them their voices count. Así es, grandma. La lucha sigue.
Congratulations to the 2017 Goldman Prize winners. Aren't you inspired? All 6 of you inspire and motivate us as you bring your world, your issues, your commitment to our door. And while the spotlight is momentary, your work lives on. Thank you. Thank you for your passion, your dedication, your efforts to protect this planet and its inhabitants, for people who are often voiceless. Ladies and gentlemen, thank all of you for coming tonight, filling this room, celebrating this year's Goldman Environmental Prize winners, letting these activists know that they are not alone, that they see your faces, and they know that you support them. Tonight we celebrate these prize winners, and we also salute Richard and Rhoda Goldman. Their purpose and their foresight almost 30 years ago, launched the world's most preeminent environmental award. What was true back in 1989 is even more relevant and even more urgent today. The prize has now recognized 181 environmental heroes from 86 countries all around the globe. Pretty amazing. Men and women who embody the Goldman's original vision, who personify that unique blend of perseverance and commitment and idealism as they work to create a more sustainable and peaceful planet for all of us. And we encourage you to please be sure to support tonight's recipients by calling attention to their work. Visit the Goldman Prize website. Take action in support of our grassroots environmental heroes. Share your inspiration on social media using the hashtag Goldman Prize. And as a reminder, we want you to please remain seated until the prize recipients have exited the theater tonight. At the conclusion of this ceremony, we hope that all of you will join us across the street at City Hall for a very special celebration and reception so you can meet this year's prize recipients. Tonight's 6 recipients: Uroš Maserol from Zagorje, Slovenia. Rodrigo Tote from Agua Caliente, Guatemala. Rodrigue Katembo from Goma, Democratic Republic of Congo. Wendy Bowman from Camberwell, Australia. Harfula Samantara from Bhubaneswar, India. And Mark Lopez from Los Angeles, California. Each remind us in the most powerful and stunning way that daring to protect our world leads to real and lasting change that will benefit the generations to come. Please welcome back to the stage the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize winners. Thank you so much. We congratulate all 6 of the 2017 Goldman Environmental Prize recipients. Listen to their words, emulate their actions of these 6 courageous environmental heroes. The world thanks you. They are fighting every day for a just cause with conviction and commitment and courage, and it helps us all. Thank you. Good night, everybody. We hope to see you next year.